So what I'm going to do, if I switch to my screen, I'm going to try to recreate this here. So it'll be fairly messy, this video, but I'm going to try to recreate some of these effects here. So what I'm going to do is I'll start off with a plane. I'm going to kick this straight into rendered view here. And I want to get, I have by default this scene setup here. This is my default scene setup for Blender. And I'm actually going to change this. I have a new favorite here, which I haven't been able to update. New favorite HDRI. I believe this is from Ambient CG. It's just this brown photo studio. You can pop that in. And I'm just going to work like this. I'm going to actually set up my camera. So let's bring this guy up here. And we're going to sit this in the corner, something like that. And I'm going to bring some of these in. Just a quick note, if you're a graphic designer and you would like to learn how to do realistic packaging renders to use as your mockups and sell these to your clients, I'm building a new program where you can work with me and learn everything that I know, including all the Blender skill set, but also how to actually upsell this to your existing clients, and also my complete workflow to make sure this is a fast process to speed up your entire workflow inside of Blender so that you can whip these out quickly, because we don't want to spend a ton of time on the renders and the mockups in Blender. We want to spend most of the time on actually designing the packaging. So if you're interested, there's a waitlist link down below and it launches next week. So if you're interested, get on the waitlist and you can just have a look and see if it's for you. It's going to be really cool and focused around graphic designers. Now, have I got Grayscale Gorilla installed here? Update port. We'll see if it connects. So Grayscale Gorilla is probably the highest quality textures for product visualization. I find I just love their textures here. They are expensive. It's $100 Australian, which that's expensive. Okay, so it's saying join plus, which isn't good. Let's pick a white one. Contrast. Maybe I pick black and then I contrast it with the white. Okay, let's see if it's going to let me join plus. I'm already in, guys. Alright, so I'm going to have to quickly fix this. Alright, it's all good. So, I just want to pick one of these. I don't know what the difference between these are. Are they just different roughnesses? So, I'm going to pick either a white paper. I want to do a different design to the one I've got. So maybe let's start with this guy. Now, one thing I want to note with Grayscale Gorilla stuff, or just textures in general, I know a lot of people set up their textures like this. But what I'm going to show you is if you set up your textures like this, it can be use up a ton of VRAM when you don't need it. So let's turn on video memory. We at 0.5. I noticed that the latest versions of Blender are running super low VRAM. I don't know whether that's just me. Maybe I've never noticed it before. And I'm just going to scale this one down. Let's keep going. I don't know how big that would be. Anyway, so I'm just going to sort of model a little bit of a packaging underneath this. So let's add a solidify modifier to add a little bit of thickness to this packaging. We want something like just 1 mil. And then I'm just going to go Shift D and duplicate down by the Z axis. Going to go to the left, tab into edit mode 1, which might help if I turned on my screencast keys for you guys. Just going to select this edge. Let's go to wireframe EZ. And I'm just going to take that down. EY. Now I'm just doing this for a little bit of an aesthetic under my scene. So let's bump this up to 3. See if it gets the rounded edge. I think it is, but can't see. Okay, let's change this to 2 mil. Change this one to 2 mil. A little bit thicker. Let's put that here. Another thing I'm going to say is always be checking your references. So we've got, I'm going to try to match this as close as possible. So let's add in, whoops, Control R, let's add in a loop cut here. We'll add in another loop cut somewhere here. And we'll just grab this GX. I'm going to think about this. Do I need subdivision? I do. I do need it because we're going to tear this paper up. So I'm just going to do very unoptimized mesh here for this experiment. Yep. So I'm not going to have, I could probably put on proper subdivision, but, and I'm just going to, you guys are going to hate me for my modeling of this. Going to put a little bit of a corner in there, and I'll just shift this back a little bit. So now we've got this going on, got this double edge, and so now what I can do is actually go to grayscale, and we'll go to the collections here. They're home. Let's go back. Packaging materials. Actually, I think there's a whole. There is just paper. Craft paper, leather. The reason I got stuck on leather is because I've been trying to do this. Okay, so we're wanting some packaging paper that is sort of, we could go for a natural one. Japanese, doesn't really look like. We might need to go back to the packaging section to look for something. I don't know how to get to the home. Packaging materials, all right. We want a white, but could we start off with white? It's satin. So we'll start off with like a eggshell. I'm just looking for like something that's a bit cardboardy, a thick GSM paper. Like that looks like a thick one. Like that. Let's import that one. And the asset, let's pick this and select the cardstock here. And we have to unwrap these two. So I think a smart UV unwrap will work for these. Yep. You are smart. All right. Next, I'm just going to check some of these. This looks fairly good. I'm just going to reduce the scale of these. So 3. Yeah. And then I will play with the color here. So this is the base color here. I'm just going to use a hue saturation here. Value node, because all I'm doing is, I did want to make it lighter. We could try removing the saturation and pumping the value up a little bit. Something like that. I want to add more curve on this edge here. Maybe I could do that manually. One thing about just removing the bevel here. We could do this manually just to point out where that curve is, and I could show you a trick later that I've done before. Let's shade this smooth. Now we need to actually UV unwrap this again. Now that's lighter than the rest, so let's angle unwrap. I think what's happening here is this second island, it's a different scale to this one here. Because if we have a look at the UVs, pull this one out here, UV. See this? This, and then versus this one. This one's filling the scene. This one is, this top square here is as large as this one, which is filling this full texture. But you can see this one is only going to here. So what I'm going to do is tab into edit mode and just scale this one up till that's sort of the same size. We'll see how that goes. Now I'm also wondering why one is really white and one is... Why are they different? The light is hitting one differently. No, it's doing something. I don't get this. Why is it going from light to dark? I'm going to remove subsurface. That hasn't changed anything though. Let's go ahead and rotate the world here. On the Z maybe. Okay, so it's our lighting. Alright, that's all good. I do not understand why they are so different though. Why is that? I'm going to figure this out off the camera here. So I honestly have no idea why that's doing that. I think it's to do with some lighting issues. So when I put this in, it still does it a bit, which is weird. Like if I put that in the background there, it still does it. And so I'm thinking maybe it's a bit of like the roughness or something. Like if this was higher. No. Yeah. I have no idea. Anyway, I'm just going to keep powering on. It's something to do with lighting, I know that. But I think it's something in the material settings. Because if I rotate this around, you can see the change that's being made. But putting it back there looks way more natural. And paper's really good to light from behind as well. It's just looks better. So let's put this here. So let's figure out this tearing going on. We've got this guy. And we could bring this straight into as an image editor here. Bring this guy in. Alright, so I've got to figure out a way to sort of tear this. Let's stay on the top. I'm gonna hide my camera here. To sort of tear this, create the divots, parts on both, then rip it. Let's think about this one. Let's just start with actually doing the two separate pieces. So what all I'm going to do for the two separate pieces is I'm just going to use an alpha layer that goes through here, which means I'm just going to call this let's call this top card. Let's call this one just bottom box. Bottom box, top card, and then we'll call this one the rip. And all I'm doing on the rip one, oh no, that's the environment. Let's get rid of this so we can't select that. We want to duplicate this top card. We'll call this one the rip. Rename this one to, what is it? The mat. All right, we're good to go. So with this, what I can do is just sort of cut across and get rid of half of the mesh that we're not going to need. And I want to leave some. I want to leave some for these little bits of tearing as well. So let's just delete all those vertices. We'll delete the vertices on the other side as well. Like this. The vertices. And this should, if we don't mess with the UVs, what should happen is the UVs should be the exact same between the two. To see that, the UVs are set up in the same position. So I want to make sure that we leave it like this. We don't adjust any of the UVs here. So then we've got this one here, and what I want to do here is actually move the origin point to here. So let's move the 3D cursor to the selected, right click this, and set the origin to the cursor. Now there's a few ways to rip this out. Another thing I'm going to do is see this, how it's creating the dark line. This is called Z fighting, and it's just fighting with itself. So I'm just going to go and lift this just ever so you can push it down a little bit, or just lift it up a little bit. So it's just tiniest movement. You can see there's an edge there. So I'm going to lift it up a little bit and not worry about that edge that's going to be created. And maybe a bit later we could drop it. It's not. It'll disappear anyway, now that I think about it, because I'm going to use an alpha. Alright, so I want to do a curve now, so I'm going to go Shift A. We're going to add in a Bezier curve. And we want to tab into edit mode and shift that end to here. And then I'm just going to grab this end. And what I'm going to do is press V, and I'm just going to change it to a vector. And then I can move this a little bit. Scale this one down. And you can see here, well actually if I leave it like this, flat, so I've left it straight, it should be going straight here. First of what I want to do is actually subdivide this, so grab these two, go segment subdivide. It'll add another point in between these two, and you're just going to go G, X, and move it along here. We'll grab this end point. I just want to make sure that these handles are nice and small, and then we'll just drag this along here and scale that one down as well. Now we can grab this guy and we can rotate him and bring him up here. So, and we can adjust this accordingly. So we can play around with this guy. And obviously I can scale this one up to make it a smoother transition, but I've just got that flat bit there. And I'll show you how you could animate this a bit later too. Anyway, so what I want to do here is I want to add a Control 2 for subdivision. I just want to make sure my subdivision doesn't hit the corners. So say boundary smooth, keep corners. So that should keep it sharp, but we need to do that maybe before the solidify. There. Okay, that's all good. Give this a bit of a save. And I'm just going to, it's already got relatively high mesh, so one subdivision will be fine for this. And check some things. I've got no adaptive subdivision. What's going on here? Is this... I'll look at that a bit later. That may be new, is it? It could be my order too, to be honest. There. Okay, so that has to go after. I'll play around with that a bit later. Curve. Put the curve up. Let's put it up the top here. We'll close this one. And attach this to the curve. Okay. That's not great. That's on the tippy top. So what we can do is go into the curve A selector. We want to go control points, segments, switch direction. So you switch the curve direction. Select this, and we're going to just cycle through some of these to try to get this right. So none of them. Let's go for the X, and let's see what happens if I rotate this on the Z. 180. So that worked. Now, yeah, that should be good. All right, let's select this curve. It's got this, let's shade it smooth. And what happens with a curve is sometimes if you put subdivision on and the resolution of the curve is too low, we want this straight. So see the difference there? This is really chunky or jagged, not smooth. And we want to smooth it out. Let's jump to affinity. Let's see what we can do here. So what I want to do is I'm just going to export these UVs, these ones. Actually, no, I want to export these guys. Because I need to fit this in. Alright, let's do this one. A selector, we'll scroll down the bottom here, export UV. Then we'll go find where I usually put the UVs, which is 3D working files. And put another file here, UV. We'll call this one the rip underscore UV. And I always do this. Let's just go for PNG. The PNG will let me actually open this up in Affinity correctly. I'm using Affinity Designer. I just love the vector cross. So that's good. So that's in the exact position we need it. So let's UV and lock that guy. And then we need to Control Shift S this and save it as an Affinity. So this is where the rip starts. So I'm just going to start by drawing a shape here. I'm just going to use here. We need to look at the reference. How big is this stuff? So it's longer on the end. I just want to sort of figure out this shape. So what do we do? If I was using Illustrator, I'd be able to do this a bit quicker. Maybe something like this. We can edit this, can we? Oops. There we go. And then we want to... Is that the same on both sides, or is it just an illusion? An illusion. Alright, so just build a shape like this. And I need to go look at my references again. That's... It's like this, right? I'm going to add a point here, right click, break the point, delete the 2, add a point here, right click, break point, delete the 2. Now I'm just going to get the pen tool here, and I might just draw this one down to here. Pen tool, oops. Let's draw this one. Let's get rid of this shape. Let's group these. We'll go off the end there. So this is just creating the bump map here. So what I want to do is sort of just move this guy up a little bit. We will Alt duplicate this one, and then Control J will repeat that. I actually think I'm going to have to squish this a little bit. Alright. Let's grab this. Control G. And just squish it a little bit. Or we could move it over. Move it in a little bit. This. So it's closer to that edge. Maybe something like that. I'm going to call this one the bump. And we're going to do some more stuff on this bump a bit later. Because it had that big tear, didn't it? Taking a drink. So what we could do is I'm just going to get this in. So I just want to get this into Blender. So because this is a bump, it's going to go down. So I usually work out all my bump layers at 50%. So I think 50% is the mid-level, and then anything below that. And let's think, are we going to use bump? I have to mix this with, yeah, we'll use a bump map. The only reason I'm saying that is because we do have to mix this with another bump of the paper. So let's grab this. This is also another good time to create an alpha. Now bump maps, I want this as EXR or TIFF. I want it to be quite high resolution here. Let's go for 4K. EXR is going to keep just a ton of the color. So we'll just start with that. I don't need 32-bit, I don't think, but we'll just go for it. Let's go rip underscore bump. And then we'll work on this as we go. And what I need to do here is we're going to create an alpha. An alpha for all this. So that's where I need that shape again. Let's duplicate the bump. We'll hide it. We'll stick this, leave it. We'll see if we can create some cool alphas in a second. So what I'm going to do now is join these. So let's go P, control, click this one. Control, let's see if we can. No. Let's select these both. Right click, join. Select both, right click, join. And now we can swap the colors. And so then I'm going to do this one as well. A, select this. Let's shift click this one, select these, and press, oops. Oh, what have I done? What have I done? Okay. Shift click this, right click them. Oh, man. Join the curve, right click, join the curve here. And then we can do this. Also, what happened with you? There's some shortcut that turns things to pixels. And I don't know it. Close curve. That works as well. Shift X. And then we're going to try to duplicate this, the exact same that we had. Which, what will happen? And I want to get this out. I need to get this out into, let's get rid of all these because I've got this duplicated. Delete. And I've got the bump underneath. And so let's go in here, duplicate this, and we'll try to do it exact so that we can just do this. Now this is going to fall out of line, as you can see. But what you can do, now it's going back, it's falling behind, which means this one should be here. And now we can lock that bump below, lock the rectangle, select all down to here, and then we just distribute this evenly, which who knows where that is. Here. Pick that up there. And that should be exactly as we like it. Now I'm just going to group all that. And then I just want to add a bit of a stroke to this. This one, we'll call this one alpha. We will put this guy into the bump. And he should be on the bottom here of the bump layer. Because what I'm going to do here now, hide the bump. And then I want to create this alpha. So it's going to be, let's undo this. We'll draw a big box here. We'll make it white like this. And I also want to make this stroke white. Put that under. Well, stick it in the alpha, then put it under. And now you've got your alpha. So let's export this one. Let's go out as a TIFF here. I don't need this one to be massive resolution here. So let's go rip alpha. I want to show you a cool thing now. So let's go back to Blender and let's put the alpha in. Let's tab out. Let's select this first one. These for now can share the same material. And all I'm going to do here is mix the alpha, like Shift A. Let's go is it transparent node here? Control Shift click, right click and join these with the Node Wrangler add-on. Then now it's translucent. This bottom shape here has to be duplicated and it just needs this. So we just want the default eggshell for the bottom shape. But this top shape and this one are going to share the same material for now. Then we need to bring in our textures. So 3D assets here. Bring in the alpha here, non-color, and plug that in. And now this is where we duplicate them. So we call this one the rip, and I'll call this one top paper, because I need to invert the top paper here. So let's have a look at this. What happened here? Okay, let's see if we can fix some of this. Light paths, transparent on. Is that broken? Yeah. Okay. Transparent. We'll mix these two together. We're going to bring in this now. And if this is the black and it's showing that top shape, what we need to do is invert it for the bottom shape here as a mask. So now it's the other way around. So white is revealing the paper, and there you go. So that's the invert here. Some of this here could be fixed with just moving the curve and the rip. Looks like subdivisions affecting that. There you go. This top piece of paper is the one that I'm going to put the bump map on, or mix it. So let's get rid of the subsurface stuff. We've got a normal map. What can happen with the normal map is it can go into a bump. So we want the bump map here. And now we want another map here. So let's go ahead and grab this bump and we'll plug it into the height here. And now you'll start to see some of the edges should start to bump. We can change this by 0.05. Maybe 0.01, 0.005. How does that look? I'm gonna just try to get this exact same. Try to get it like level. Play around with it. I'm going to add in some geometry into this end here. Really sharpen that. Alright. So that's that paper, and if I grab this curve now, and that's not really doing it. Grab the rip maybe? Anyway, let's keep going. So now this is sort of the hardest bit. What I want to do now is actually create that teared material with a new material underneath it. So we're going to need a few things. We're going to need a mask to actually do the tear. We're going to need a bump for the tear. And I think Grayscale have some tears. So let's look for them. Let's go. These are textures, I think. Paper alphas. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to go. Maybe we do try something like this. I need it big though. I want it like really in depth and big. Because I want to create an alpha out of it. Alright, I'm going to look around the web and see if I can find some really cool textures to do this with. Alright, so I found some torn textures. These are from Envato, so see if I can use some of these. Need to take a double check at my reference here. So I'm just going to try to do this little bit here, and then we'll try to get it on the other side there with some texture. So what are we doing here? We're getting a texture that has a fairly large rip into the edge, like so. These ones look awesome. But can I get this to a white color? I use something like that. Let's try this. Alright, so we got this massive texture. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is just get rid of a ton of this by masking. So let's mask this. We need to jump into pixel mode. Masking in Affinity is like the worst thing ever to work out. Because right now, let's do this. Right now my mask isn't active. Now it is. Who knows? Who knows how it works? Alright, let's grab... I don't really know how to get a brush or adjust the softness of this. Guessing it's this. What's this? Hardness. And more is sharper? Yeah. So we'll get rid of just a ton of this. And I'm just going to get rid of everything that's around this. Oops. And we'll do this. And then this is where I'll just trace that edge, the inside edge, as much as possible. And try to get rid of some of this. I'm just going to cut that. Alright, so that's it cut out. Let's pick a spot to do this. Oops. I gotta finish this guy off. Got more around here. Get rid of. Let's get rid of all this. Cut that off like so. Now we want to pick a spot. To tear this. Let's do it. Let's do it sort of here. Let's make this nice and small. Alright, so first this has got to be an alpha, which sort of masks between. We want this to be an alpha that makes this transparent a little bit. Let's move this below this bit. We'll put it into the alpha here. And then we'll put it here. Now it's below this. I'm just going to for now, I'm just going to put a color on it. We'll put a levels on this and just make it black. No, I only want it on that layer. So apply it to that layer. Everything is black. So now this is what I do. I just keep exporting these and experimenting. So this is my mask. So rip alpha. I'm just going to save it over top. And then jump back to Blender here. And then I'm going to go Alt R to reload this. And jump over to this one, Alt R. Has that done anything? So this is where it should be adjusting. Alright, so there you go, it started. Top. So this is another thing we don't want to happen. We only want it to happen on the top here. And we don't have enough mesh for the top. So how's this working? This is super confusing. But let's extrude this. Let's go GY this way. And add a ton of mesh in here. Now this is also where I'm going to fall into trouble. With my unwrapping. Because I need this to be... Alright, what I'm going to do is get rid of this guy. Shift D, duplicate the full plate again. Put that rip material on it. So it looks like this. I do not know why it's black. Okay. That's that other piece. Full rip material. That because it's slightly below. Then I'm going to grab the curve again. So let's put a curve on this at the top level to the Bezier. want origin points matter, so let's set the origin to the 3D cursor. We'll try to get this working again, which I think I did it. Rotate on the X, I'm guessing. The Y, sorry. Rotate on the Y. By 180. Like so. Okay. I don't know why it's twisted it a little bit, like it's off. Okay, I'm going to play around with this. This really is not working. Like even if what if I spin this around the scale Y minus 1, rotate Y 180. Okay. That apparently does it. That didn't fix that. Okay. 0. Scale Y 180. Rotate X 180. Okay. That's done it. With some funky stuff going on. And this could just be like if I add subdivision of 2 levels. That's going to work. Okay, so that's super confusing. Like curves for me, I hate using curves because I don't understand them. I don't understand the maths behind a curve. I'm going to turn off my camera. It's died. So what can I do here? What I want to do now, this is getting a very long tutorial. Sorry, taking a drink here. Alright, we want to bring this back in. Has a bit of a bump. So we want this to be, we want this section to be added. So let's duplicate this guy. We'll bring this down to a bump layer here. And he's currently on top. Let's hide the alpha. Close that and show the bump here. And then we'll adjust the levels here. So are you in the group? You're in, yeah. There we go. So what we want to do now is I want to mask it using this alpha. So, but I want to do the opposite. So I have to put this in that one shape. Grab these two. Jump back to vector. Join those guys. Let's just make a box for this area. Whoops. A box for this area. And I'm just going to grab this one. Put it to the top. Come on. What's happening? Okay, grab this one. put it to the top of this one, grab this one, punch it out. This is now the shape that we can use for masking this. So let's grab this. No, not select things in my... Let's stick this on here. So this is now the shape. Now you can see that this is going down. Now this is going to be sort of hard to work, because I need to turn this into a bump map. So black recesses. So that's working there. But what I need to do is actually sort of play around with this more so that we have some filters. So maybe pixel. Let's go for a high pass. Let's put the high pass on this layer. And then I want to grab this layer and go Control I. To invert the color. And now I want, see this edge here? I want that darker. I want that darker than the grey out here. So let's undo this. Grab an invert maybe. Do an invert. Click that on. There. And we've got a levels adjustment that we could try. And we're going to grab that high pass. Don't really know what I'm doing here. High pass is really... The invert, that brings it to white. And then if I add a high pass, but... What if now I use the levels again at the top of all this? No. Turn that on. So we're going to take the white. We want to take the white to 50% grey. So that it only goes down. We'll blend with... We use a blending mode like... I don't really know what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to get this into... Let's see if we can get that. Alright, now let's stick this. Have the tear, so let's group this. Let's put the tear below. Bump map will export this one. And then I want to export an alpha that has I've lost that other bit. Why doesn't it bring it in? Alright, so we're going to try this now. We're going to put in the bump for this. It's going to be this bump map. We'll change the alpha over to the no rip alpha. What's this? Okay, so let's undo this. Okay, bottom texture. This needs to be changed to the no rip alpha. So you can see what's happening here. Then we're going to shift D, duplicate this. We're going to mix these two. And we want paper for this one, but what I'm going to do is put in normal, and then we'll put in ripped paper. Let's go this one. So we've got a bump that we created here. Height, non-color. Let's go 0.03. So now we've got this. And I'm actually going to get rid of those for this layer. So let's hide all this. I want to chuck all this junk into the alpha. I only want one alpha and one bump. So then for the rip alpha, we're going to hide all that. For the rip bump, I mean. Export this. We'll call this one bottom bump. So then it doesn't have the little indents. Let's go here. Bottom bump, TIFF. On color. So that we have this now. We're going to select all three. Try to move them up a little bit. I'm going to select world lighting. Actually need to. We need to fix this. So this bit will be red. And you can see here that there's no mask between the two. So this is where we need the image for the rip mask. Rip alpha. And then we'll put an invert into this to flip the two around. So now you've got paper on everything else. Like this. We now need this before. So this will go into here. And all this comes after the alpha. This is really complicated. It's not. I'm not really doing this for beginners here. So there you go. We're also getting a little bit of that red that the other one had. Let's bring down the saturation. You could have it white too. Now we want to put the bump on the base of that one. So let's select this guy. Rip bump. Open. This one will be just the bump map, I think. Yeah. See that? And for this one, I also want to create an alpha. So let's think about this one. So we want this bit. This is this is getting confusing to work out. I'm going to look at this. No, let's not do that one. Let's look at this one. Let's look at a curve. Let's look at a color ramp. Color ramp, stick this here. I want to add a midpoint. I want this midpoint to be this color here. So that what I can do is deepen that rip. See, I'm making just a rip darker without affecting the mid levels here. And then we'll shift click this. And so by doing this, if I go up to like 5, we should be able to get a deeper rip here. Remove the saturation out of this to remove the red. Let's grab our camera down here. And we'll get rid of all depth of field so that I can see what's actually happening. Now that doesn't look like super realistic. Of there. Something like that. I think paper has more. Yep. Now we need the alpha. So the alpha is coming from, look, where did that? I don't know where my other one went. So the alpha is coming from this bit. So I'm going to duplicate this. duplicate this guy, which is just my background. Make a new group, hide that alpha. This is going to be the alpha 4, or like a translucency. So let's grab this. Now I've got 2 of these. So let's, we need a bin 1. So the thing with alphas is black is transparent. So let's go ahead and invert this. Invert. Stick this on here. So it's inverted color. And then the darker areas is where, so if we make parts of this darker, and we compress the colors like this, we're going to end up with a little bit of transparency. So let's go ahead and export this as our we need better names, really. This will be the transparency here. And this goes into the alpha slot here. So let's start off with the bottom. We'll put it on the top too. Alpha. Oops. Image. Put an image node in. We'll go up to the assets here. The rip transparency. This will be in non-color. We'll probably put this through a color ramp. Like so. We'll stick this into the alpha. And you see now we're getting this sort of translucent look in here. I'm going to keep increasing this to try and smooth it out. So let's go 3. So there you go. So it's a little bit more transparent. I don't know if there's a better way to do this. Transmission might be the better way. But that's not really looking like it. So I'm going to stick it in the alpha. And then you can control the alpha here. So if you pull the black up, it's going to be more transparent here. And if you pull the black down, you can also lift the black to remove a bit of transparency. Let's select these, Control C, stick it up here. And it's going to come into the alpha here. You can start to see this one getting a bit of an effect here. Let's adjust this bump. I had 3. And maybe I want to what did I have? I had something on here. This ramp. Just plug it through this ramp to go try to get the same effect. Let's go back here. I'm thinking the 2 bumps have to be separate. So I'm going to do that. Bump. So hopefully I've got both. So I'm just going to use the original bump, which is this guy. He can go into the first one, like so. And then I'll see if I can find the second bump, which is just like, I don't know why it asks me every time, which is just this without the bumps along here. And then we'll do that secondly. So let's plug this in here. Still happening twice, but I think what's happening is it's actually just really big. 0.1, 0.1. So it's happening a little bit here. If you were putting in tons of effort, you would actually make these. You would make it disappear on the back rather than. Another question is, do we even need these? I might actually come here. Hide this. Grab the rip. I want to blur this a little bit. Tab bumps. Come down here. I think it's this one. Tab bumps. So now that they're a little bit more rounded, they're just going to look a little bit better. Like so. I'm going to add in a color ramp here. Change this to ease. Clamp the colors in a little bit so that it's flat on the bottom. Like so. We're getting this. And then I want to mask out the tear. See how the tear is transparent here? I want to mask that out over here. So I think I've got it. That's my. So that's a bump. The secondary bump here. This guy. Nope, it's the alpha. So it's the alpha up here that's doing that. And so if I have some tears to do this with. We'll take one of these up. And what I'm going to do, hide this. Now I've got to line this up with, I made a mistake earlier. I actually deleted the assets that I had. So I've got to line this up. Oops. By hand. Like so. Now we'll see if we can select just the white. Pixel selection, color, range, tone, highlights. Mask. We'll grab this one, Control D. Pixels, draw on this mask, B. And we'll get rid of this. Turn off the bump, turn on the white. Work. So what's this shape? Alright, so I think this is it. This is the alpha that we want with the section that we cut out. Group transparency. I'm just going to put 2 so that I don't affect. So see the transparency, I'm trying to get rid of that. This is getting super complicated. Group transparency 2. There we go. Right, so I'm going to clamp in the white, just bring it up a bit lighter. I'm also going to bring that grey up a bit lighter so it's not as transparent. Let's look back through here. And so let's say you changed the color. Let's add a multiply. Color of the paper. I would love for that to be white. Don't know what that is. I might make this dark. What color did I make it? 0.1. Make this multiply. Grab the matte here and we'll just go back down to 1. I changed the scale on my scene. 5 maybe. And if you really like wanted to spend a lot of time on this, you would probably make this the top material and make the bottom a separate material, which would be a bit complicated with the UVs and stuff. Let's see if we can make this a little bit more. If we can show off a little bit more. Let's grab this. I'm going to position this. So then you've got this, the curve. Let's work with the curve. Tab in here, I'm going to select this. I'm going to actually add a hook. Add a hook to what? Hold Control H. Hook to new object. There we go. Hook to new object. And then this is the hook. And when you get out of edit mode, you can actually grab this hook and start to play with how it curves and how it bends. This bezier, is this rotated? No. Let's change this one back to and then we could grab this guy. Yeah, so that works pretty well. Alright, that's it for this video. It was super long. If you're interested in learning more about packaging, rendering, and how to actually implement that into your business, then I would highly encourage you to join the waitlist for a new course that is coming, and you'll hear the teasers for it. So it's sort of a 3-step process. The first step is all about learning the skill set, how to do this stuff for packaging. The second step is all about the upsell, how to add this to your business if you're already designing packaging, and how to actually add this so your clients can have realistic 3D renders for their business. And then the third thing is workflows. So creating fast workflows to actually implement this into your business and create a system so you can use this in Blender, and you're going to learn how to save assets so that every time you open up Blender the next time, you've got a bigger and bigger library of assets that you've used before, and you can just drag and drop stuff to make your renders a lot faster. And you can focus more on lighting and also on the actual presentation of it rather than tweaking materials and modeling all the time. So if you're interested, top link in the description below. It gets launched in about a week, or open cart is in about a week. All right, I'll see you in the next video.